Hello, welcome to Buddhism PowerPoint Part 2. So let us go immediately to where we left off. So essentially, Siddhartha has gotten bad food poisoning. He dies. His body is actually burned and split up into 7 jars, which then get sent to 7 funerary mounds, which I actually show right here. This is an example of one of these things called stupas, which are funereal memorial mounds. Over the course of time, they lost track of where these jars of Buddha's ashes went to. So it ended up that as people started to make these stupas or funerary mounds or graves, essentially, pilgrimage points, because they thought that maybe Buddha's ashes were in one or the other, stupas ended up becoming the Buddhist temples. That's what happened, is the Buddhist temple ended up appropriating this kind of mound thing in order to be kind of the earmark of the Buddhist temple style. Ananda, who was Buddha's favorite disciple, says, hey guys, at the first rainy retreat after he died, let's make the Buddha's teachings the focus of the religion. And so with that, they had the freedom to kind of take the information, take the Buddhist teachings and kind of disband and go over the place. Like that first slide where I showed the red arrows going everywhere. They started to go out and spread Buddhism all over Asia. Okay? In what they had in hand in terms of the Buddhist teachings was the sutras, which are the sermons and dialogues of the Buddha, the Vinaya, which were rules and regulations for the monks and nuns. At this point, after 45 years, there were a lot of monks and nuns, and they had to establish certain rules. And then the Abhidharma, which is just collected treatises and discussions from not the Buddha, but from other Buddhists into a collection. So those 3 were then called the Tripitaka, or the 3 baskets of knowledge. Okay? Now, throughout his biography, I had those little numbers, in blue, highlighting the differences and similarities between, the similarities between Buddha and Jesus, and I just wrote them out here so that you would have them on hand. If you're not familiar with Jesus or the life of Jesus, I would recommend you go look up the biography of Jesus just so you're familiar with what these phrases are, because I shouldn't presume that you know. So these would be the similarities between the 2. Okay? All right, so make sure you take a look at that. Now, after Buddha died and all of the disciples decided to take their Tripitakas and go out and start spreading Buddhism, I have this map once again. This is the direction as to where they spread. All right. One of the people that was kind of influential in terms of funding that going out of India spreading was King Ashoka of the Gupta dynasty, who initially was like, I don't know what religion I should be, and ultimately became a Buddhist. And so it was a lot through his funding and his descendants and the Gupta dynasty that followed that allowed Buddhism to have the wherewithal or the incentive to push out of India and start spreading. Now, all of this information about the Theravada branch and the Mahayana branch is from the Smith book. So once again, I would encourage you to do the reading, underline, take notes, etc. Just don't rely on just this PowerPoint, because I expect that you would know the information from the book. There are essentially 3 major branches come out of Buddhism. So as it starts to spread to other different countries, and as people start to receive Buddhism in different ways, remember, we're not existing in a vacuum here. They're spreading to Tibet, they're spreading to China, they're spreading to Korea, Japan, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. All of these countries are very different culturally, linguistically, etc. And so they're going to receive and adapt to Buddhism in different ways. Most of the countries close to India actually are more conservative and are more like the original teachings of the Buddha, original Buddhism. And those will be called Theravada or Hinayana Buddhism. Okay? That is the path that's closest to the original teachings, and it's also called the path of the elders. This branch, dominant in South Asia and Southeast Asia, really expects you to achieve nirvana by yourself, much like Buddha did. So the Buddha is a role model, And really, it's up to you through intense meditation, intense study, self-discipline, etc., for you to achieve nirvana. All right, so that's more like the original teachings. Mahayana is the more liberal branch, quote unquote, and this is called the greater vehicle because it allows more adaptability, it allows more options. It carries more people to nirvana. In other words, it's a broader path that encompasses a lot more different methods to achieve nirvana. So this is dominant in East Asia, Japan, Korea, in China, and it's much more open to new ideas and practices. So it's kind of like whatever you want to use to achieve Atman Brahman, whatever helps you clarify your mind or allows you to meditate better, all the more reason to use it. While Theravada is like, nope, self-reliance, self-discipline, right? Mahayana is like, sure, if you want to ask a Buddha for help, great. If you want to ask a God for help, great. If you want to ask a Bodhisattva, who's a figure that is on his way to nirvana, but then decides to help other people rather than achieve it. If you want to ask a Bodhisattva, fantastic. So if you look at the Smith book, he makes a very clear distinction between Theravada branch, which is based on self-reliance and doing it by yourself, and the Mahayana branch, which is all about asking for help, whether it be through various methods or appropriating other ideas from other cultures. So that one is actually more popular because, of course, humans are inherently lazy and we always want to ask for help. So Mahayana is the larger branch because it is more flexible. And then, of course, there's the Vajrayana branch, which is the Tibetan Buddhism, often called Diamond Vehicle. And this is the one that's a separate branch because it developed in Tibet. And this is the one that is more along the lines of Theravada in terms of meditation and self-reliance, but they use a lot of patterns of the universe to help their meditation. So if you've ever seen a mandala or any kind of circular concentric patterns or repetitive singing or repetitive movements, these are all things from Vajrayana. The head of the Vajrayana branch is the Dalai Lama, who is more of a political figure rather than a religious figure because Tibet has been under Chinese occupation and he's been really an advocate for Tibetan independence. You will watch a video about that, so make sure you pay attention in terms of its influence on Vajrayana. Okay, now these are the four major concepts of Buddhism, which are the four main ideas. The first one is called Dharma. This is not role or duty like in Hinduism. Buddhist Dharma are the teachings of the Buddha, which means kind of like what's the gospel of the Buddha, right? What are his intrinsic core teachings? Now, obviously different ways of achieving nirvana. If you read the text, Buddha actually tries to explain it in a variety of different ways. The kind of highlights of the Dharma or the teachings of the Buddha is the life of the Buddha. That's one highlight, because only by knowing how he did it could you actually have an option of doing it. So one of the fundamental things that you should know from the Dharma is the life of the Buddha. That's part of the teaching. The other thing that comes out frequently is this notion of samutpada. Because everything is artificial and nothing is real, and frankly in Buddhism there's no soul. We don't even have a soul. It's just everything is artificial. The one thing that is true is the doctrine of causality, which is called samutpada, where everything happens because of what happens before it. So when we have something like that that is tangible and real, samutpada is very important. That's our incentive for being a good person, is we do it because we know that the cause and effect of my good action will promote good action. So that frequently will appear. And if you look at the Novak book, you'll see a lot of examples of samutpada. Samutpada is important because, number one, we have no soul, so we will cease to exist after this lifetime. And number two, we will not be reborn. We only have one lifetime to achieve nirvana in Buddhism. But what makes up who we are called aggregates, and those things will be inherited by other people. Okay, so our aggregates will dissipate when we die, and they will form with other aggregates to form more people. So samutpada is important because how we behave in this life will affect those who inherit our aggregates in the next life, even though we are not born again. We only have one life. Okay? So that's why it's important. The second major concept is nirvana. Once again, this is enlightenment or achieving an unconditioned state of mind, and this is your goal. It's not like Atman Brahman, there's no joining. It is actually a realization. Okay? It's not a heaven, it's just an unconditioned state of mind. Theravada believes that nirvana can be achieved through self-discipline and study and meditation. Kind of hard. And Mahayana believes that since nirvana is nothing and everything, and samsara is nothingness, samsara is actually part of nirvana. Meaning, you don't have to go anywhere. It's not a self-reliance thing. You can achieve nirvana right here because you're already there. You just don't know it. Because you're already in samsara, you're already in nirvana. You just have to realize it. So they try to cater to you to make it easier, the Mahayana branch. The third major concept is the notion of the Buddha. Siddhartha Gautama was the original Buddha, but he himself has claimed that he has been here 10 previous times. So at the very least, we know that there had been 10 previous Buddhas, but they never stuck around to teach the way to others like Siddhartha did. Okay? So both Theravada and Mahayana believe in this traditional Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, right? In addition, Mahayana has a whole variety of other forms, once again, to help you, to cater to you, to make sure that you have more information. So some of them is Amitabha to the left and Mahavarakan to the right. Amitabha is the Buddha of unlimited light. He's in charge of this place called Buddha Land, where you can rest your mind on the way to nirvana. So it's kind of basically, Mahayana says, we have these Buddhas to help you. And then Mahavarakan is the Sun Buddha. Okay, so there's Buddha Land. Mahayana also has the notion that Buddhas can actively help you by transferring merit or some of your own good luck back to you. So once again, Mahayana tries to help you achieve nirvana. Theravada says do it by yourself. And then there's the figure of the Bodhisattva that I had mentioned earlier. All right, so all of these things here from like this in addition below is only in Mahayana. So those would be examples of differences. The fourth concept is the nature of the world, and this is that we are currently in samsara or dukkha. We will only have one lifetime to achieve nirvana. We are made up of aggregates, which are not souls, but just parts, and this is the list of things that they are. When you die, your aggregates will break apart, dissipate, and form other people. So you remember, only here for one lifetime, but there is no punishment. If you don't achieve nirvana at the end of this life, you will just cease to exist. So it's kind of an awesome religion that way, And then, let me just get down to, so the one thing about Samudpada, the reason why we are motivated to achieve nirvana, because we don't have to be reborn, like what's our motivation? Well, it's kind of like, why not achieve nirvana? Do you know what I mean? If you only have one lifetime, you only have one lifetime. Would you want to waste it just kind of putzing around and not really having a goal? Or would you rather spend your life being charitable, being good, trying, meditating, clearing your mind, being a better person? And then, hey, if you achieve nirvana, fantastic, right? If you don't achieve nirvana and you die and your aggregates dissipate, they will be really, really great aggregates for whoever inherits it because you were a great person. And if you didn't achieve nirvana, it's okay because you had a wonderful life trying to achieve nirvana. See what I mean? So that value of one life trying to achieve nirvana and being the best person that you can, just like Buddha, use him as a role model, really is an incentive of a why not try to be a good person? Why not try to achieve nirvana? Because if you don't, there's no punishment. But if you do, bonus, right? So it's great. Buddhism is really a kind of a pacifist religion because it basically says, be a good person because you should. You might as well. All right, I will see you in Judaism for the video for that. Okay? Okay. Bye.